All right, the Avalanche head into the All-Star break, not firing on all cylinders, firing on a lot of them. So we'll discuss how things have been going for them, and with Nathan MacKinnon being a captain of the one of the All-Star teams, who would we like to see play on Team MacKinnon? All that and then some. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And make sure you're following us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And make sure you subscribe to our subtext as well. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, become a special insider, and we read your thoughts, opinions, anything Avalanche on this very show. We're going to start doing, because we have this whole week off. Well, we don't have it off. The Avalanche have it off. Most of the Avalanche have it off. We're going to be doing some mid-season grades. Some days will be a little bit more heavy than others, but because we have a good amount to get to on this episode, we're just going to do the top line for today. So we're going to do MacKinnon, we'll do Mikko, and we'll do Jonathan Drouin for today. And then tomorrow we'll figure out all that as we go along for the week. But where we're going to start today, sir, is Avalanche, head into the break. Kind of, I would say playing their best hockey of the year. Would you not?
Yeah, it honestly, with this roster construction, how it's looking, how it's being put together, how everybody's kind of gelling at this point, I say how they're playing right now is better than how they started the season, and that was a nice little winning streak to get everything going up until that Islander game, the road winning streak. Everybody remember 2 years ago when that happened? It feels like 2 years ago at this point with all the ups and downs of this Avalanche season. But no, I agree with you. That's the Avalanche are buzzing right now. We talked about that going into the month of January, that this was going to be a hell month, and this is where you need to put up or shut up. And the Avalanche only dropped 3 games this month.
And the last one against the Kings, their last game before the break, we were talking about that heading into that game. That's another game where you're playing the one against the Capitals was like, you need to take care of business there. Don't let them hang around. Everything is against Washington, so you should really just mow them over. And they did. And the same can, oddly enough, can kind of be said about the Kings right now because they're struggling. I think they were on a back-to-back too. I think this was their second game of another back-to-back. So it was, again, all there for the Avalanche to really just stick it to them. And how many times, Kyle, do we talk about like this team plays to the level of their opponent and they'll set the tone from time to time, but they so many times let the other team get back into it. And that's happened this year. But at least for those 2 games and how you're ending this first half of the season, you took that Kings game and you just, again, you didn't let them hang around. It was good to see.
And how far we've come in this first half from Tays calling out the team and individual efforts and how this team needs to band together. And they really have closing out. And it's one of those that's almost a blessing and a curse. Like, this is what you want to see going into the All-Star break, but you're also concerned how it looks coming out of the All-Star break because everybody's booking their trips and vacations and relaxing and putting their feet up. And I mean, can you get right back up and get right back to it? That's going to be, we'll find out soon enough. But no, this is what you want to see. And the Avalanche are sitting 3rd in the league currently, right now, at time of recording, behind Boston and Vancouver for some godforsaken reason. But Vancouver's up there sitting at the top of the league. But with everything, the ups and downs, the Georgiev, like, do you love him? Do you hate him? The defensive woes, the depth scoring and the not scoring. The Avalanche are sitting 3rd in the league. And honestly, that Kings game was the perfect little putting a bow on the first half of the season, this team is legitimate and only getting better.
You mentioned that they're sitting third overall in the league right now, as far as points go. And yeah, Nathan MacKinnon is getting all of the recognition for what he's doing, rightfully so. But as a team, do you feel like they're kind of like sliding in under the radar a little bit right now? Because I shouldn't say everybody. A lot of people are talking about Vancouver, what they're doing. A lot of people are talking about Winnipeg and what they're doing. You always hear about Boston. Vegas just being, the defending champion. People are going to talk about them. And is it
Edmonton.
that and Edmonton doing what they're doing? Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. So there's always stories like that. There's always teams that are towards the top of the standings, and maybe teams that you didn't expect to be that get kind of the recognition. And do you feel like it's like the Avalanche that are up there just because it's like, oh, ho hum, this is like what they always do? Or is it just I don't want to sound that's like bragging or anything. I should say, like, this is what they've been doing recently, not what they always do, but what they've been doing like year after year so far, like, for the last 4 or 5 years, like you're just expecting them to be there. Or do you really feel like they're not really getting a lot of recognition outside of the Nathan MacKinnon stuff?
And what a perfectly asked question, because this is coming off the heels of Football Championship Sunday, and we've all seen how everything shook out over that weekend. And I feel like the Avalanche have kind of put themselves in the 2010s version of the Patriots. Like, they're always kind of good, and you don't really hear about them unless you're paying attention, unless they lose and they do something crazy. Like, the only time you hear about the Colorado Avalanche, you expect them, and in the back of your mind, if you're not wearing burgundy and blue every day of your life, your only time checking in on the Avalanche is, oh, they dropped that game to Montreal. Oh, Boston took care of Colorado. But when they win, you're just it's business as usual. You go on about your day. Nathan MacKinnon had 4 goals. Sure, why wouldn't he? And then you go look at your team's score. But that's the Avalanche have put themselves in a spot now where it's just the expected. That's the status quo. The Avalanche are always going to be leading the Central, and they're always going to be somewhere in the top 5 of the league. We really don't have to pay attention because look at that roster. They're going to win. It's like Tampa Bay when they were going for the three-peat. You didn't pay attention to Tampa Bay during the regular season. You just knew they were going to be in the playoffs, and then you focus on them there. That's where Colorado is. They took down Tampa Bay. They took that crown, and now they're holding on to it. They're the team you don't have to check up on.
That's a really good point about, you start paying attention to them in the playoffs. And because it's just, like we said, like, is it just like boring to keep talking about the Avalanche and like, yeah, they win again, they won again, they won again. They're always they're at the top of the standings. And that's why the focus is on Nathan MacKinnon, because what he's doing, you don't see a lot. I mean, well, you see it like in the Connor McDavids of the world, and that's even getting boring. Talking about Connor McDavid all the time and how fantastic. Yeah, we know. So is it, like the Avalanche, like the team version of Connor McDavid, of just that's what you expect from them in the regular season, and then let's put the focus. And this is just from just me feeling like from the outside looking in. Inside the league, people know what's going on, and they're taking notice. But it's a good point. It's a good point you make about like, once you get to the playoffs, then because that's when the real season starts, and then you start paying attention. So point well taken.
And it's not, when you hear about the Colorado Avalanche being good, it's not just like the Avalanche are good. It's Nathan MacKinnon has X amount of points in this amount of time. This team is really good. Like, this team is scary good. It's always an extra level of good. It's when they're good and they're winning and they're doing what they're supposed to and they're beating teams. When they beat Boston, nobody blinks an eye. Nobody was like, whoa, look at the Colorado Avalanche. Look what they're doing. It's the understood. It's what they should be doing. And you just kind of, it's background noise at this point. Like, the Avalanche are doing what they always do. And then you look at what this team could look like, because it's also what the Avalanche do. They have injuries. They have pieces come in and out, and they acquire pieces and lose pieces. You look at them in the playoffs, and you're like, okay, how does my team match up against playoff Colorado Avalanche? Seattle got lucky with injuries and absences, and they took advantage, and they didn't go much farther. And insert next team here, they're going to do the exact same thing with this Colorado Avalanche team when they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, man. And it's just going to get more interesting. I think, you have this break, and then once the season picks back up again, we had our special segment about Zach Parise, which was over the weekend. So that's up there. If you didn't watch that, we've discussed it last week, but when it broke, we did a quick segment on it. So go check that out. But that's just another added wrinkle to this team. So that I think that's the excitement factor right now is, yeah, can this team continue where they left off? And sure, when you get a name like Zach Parise, and you and I had talked about, multiple times leading up to him signing, how we're a little bit skeptical, but hey, he's on the team now, and let's see what he can do. So I think now heading into the second half of the season, it's let's continue how you're playing and what can Zach Parise add to that depth, which was a struggling part. Is he that piece? Is he that piece? Like, depth was a part that you needed to address, and they went out and did it in one fashion anyway, and getting one guy in the name of Zach Parise. We'll see if that pans out. We'll have to wait.
And the thing is, this Colorado Avalanche team that everybody takes for granted still has a month until the trade deadline.
Yeah, isn't the trade deadline usually like middle of March?
By the time when they come back from the All-Star break, it'll be Parise, the new shiny thing, and then they have a month to put all that together, see how it works, and then attack the trade deadline. So this isn't the final form of the Colorado Avalanche yet, and we're already taking it for granted.
Definitely not. So yeah, and that's the exciting part. Another exciting is the moves that could potentially happen. So, all right, let's head into the All-Star weekend, which is obviously a few days away, but the draft is the first thing that takes place. And with Nathan MacKinnon being a captain, who would we like to see on Team MacKinnon? We'll get our answers, and our subtext people, a couple people from subtext weighed in on that. So we'll discuss that coming up next. First, we got eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. It's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, what do we call that, sir?
That is the Nathan MacKinnon trilogy.
Absolutely. eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. There we go. All right. All-Star weekend. We hate it, but we got to deal with it. And I guess what kind of makes it a little bit more fun is when you have everybody has at least one player in it, which that's a whole nother conversation, which we can't stand. But the Fs have three guys in it, one of which, Nathan MacKinnon, is a captain of one of the four teams that they will do a fantasy draft with. Forgive me for forgetting the name of the musical artist that he is with. What it?
Tate McRae?
Yeah, I think that's it. You're right. I don't know how that's going to work. I guess I'm interested to see how this whole thing works. But MacKinnon will be a captain. Who do we want on Team MacKinnon? We have some people from subtext, which I'll get to. There's no rhymery to this. We're just going to we're not going to do the lines or anything like that. We're just going to throw out some names that we would like to see play with MacKinnon. So throw out one or two or however you want.
I really like the idea of Rasmus Dahlin being the quarterback for Nathan MacKinnon.
That would be fun. That would be interesting to see.
I want to see, and this is one of those things you can take advantage of, especially in this draft format of the All-Star game. The fantasy matchups that realistically you're never going to be able to see with a lot of these contracts and a lot of these guys that are, again, every team is represented, but you're also getting the opportunity to see pieces like you're never going to see Rasmus Dahlin as a member of the Colorado Avalanche in their prime, Nathan MacKinnon and Dahlin working together. That move will never happen. So you get to see it for one night only in this game. And I just want to see what two guys with that level of speed and hockey IQ together would be.
I don't. I have him as one as well for a defender. I definitely have him as one. Let me see here. Let's well, and you know what? Before we get into any further, like it's not a rule, and I think Vargar even said it too. But it should be. You can't pick guys that are on your team. If you have multiple,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I purposely did not want to see MacKinnon and Makar.
I don't think anybody does. You get that 82 games out of the year, so I don't.
Yep.
It should be a rule where if you have multiple players that are in, and at least for these four guys that are drafting, you can't draft your own guys. That'd be nice to see. I'll throw one out, and then we'll get to subtext people as well. I think a lot of people are going to throw the Sidney Crosby thing out there, right? I think that'll be fun to see. But I'm a big Clayton Keller guy.
Ooh.
And I know that's within the division. And I don't know why. I just feel like those two guys would they're just the skill level is kind of off the charts for both of them. So they would be exciting shifts if they were on the same line together. I just think like the dangles that you would see and the moves that they would try to pull off, they would just be trying to like to one up each other because they're both magic men with the puck. I'd like to see that.
Oh, that would be absolutely beautiful.
That'd be a nice one.
And you know what? It might make the All-Star game worth watching.
Just if I could get notifications when Nathan MacKinnon hits the ice on my phone so I could tune it in as quick as possible, I would do that. Amy says he thinks he's going to pick Crosby. That's what I am wanting to see. Like with his number one pick, is he going to pick Sidney Crosby? We'll see. I'd like to see him pick Kucherov, is what Amy says. That is you're coming up with a storyline there, Amy. That would be interesting. And she says that just for the narrative. And maybe Brady Tkachuk and or Tom Wilson. The game is so boring. I think picks should just be maximum chaos. You put Brady Tkachuk and Tom Wilson on the same team, you might get some chaos. Maybe not in the All-Star game, but I like where she's going with a lot of that.
And having Kucherov and Nate Dogg on the same, it's like keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. I would love to see just like those two in a like casual format just go off against each other, but together might be interesting.
That would be fun. This is Vargar. He says the same thing. I'd like to see Crosby as his line mate. I've never liked him because I feel like he's favored by the NHL and gets all the calls from refs, but I'm sick of not getting calls. So he thinks we're going to get calls like in the All-Star game. I don't think they call anything in the All-Star game, Parker. Considering the unrest and possible rebuild in Pittsburgh, let Sid play on a line with Nate and see how fun it is. Maybe that would entice Crosby to force a trade. Ooh. Then the Avs would get some calls for once. He says, also, I'd like to see Makar play with McDavid. I don't want any teammates to play together, actually. Yeah, so there you go. Hey, put MacKinnon and Crosby on a line. So, we're still doing business, even though it's the All-Star game. I like where you're going with this, Vargar.
No, and see, like Vargar hit the nail on the head. That's my backup. What I would have, Cale Makar and Connor McDavid. I want Connor McDavid to experience elite level generational defense. So when he goes back to Edmonton, this little win streak they're on falls apart because he's so used to stellar defense. He goes back and realizes I can't do this here, and they just stop winning altogether.
So it's the same. So it's twofold. You want Crosby to play with MacKinnon to see how fun that could be, and you want Makar to play with McDavid for him to realize he doesn't have this. I should just retire.
Yep.
Love it. You got another one that you'd like to see?
That was my second one right there. I wanted to see use this All-Star game if we all have to watch it. Yep. Use it as a recruiting tool for Sidney Crosby and a way to dismantle the Edmonton Oilers right now because this winning streak, it's impressive, but it's got to stop.
That's funny. And Madam Battle just threw out, she says she thinks that he's going to take Avalanche players. I think he should challenge himself and pick non-Avs players. And she also said, let's go San Francisco 49ers. So we're recording this right after that game ended. So I guess congratulations to the 49ers. But I don't think he's going to. Madam Battle Axe, I think this is, his time to have some fun with this and pick non-Avalanche players. It's not, like we said, it's not the rule, but I think most of these guys are going to shake things up.
Although Avalanche versus the world is not a bad idea.
That would be fun. There's a couple other guys that I have on here. I did have Darlene like you did. I think Pasternak would be fun. That would be fun to see those two together.
Is Krill the Thrill healthy?
Yes, he is. He is. So, but they did that last year. But they were on when it was essential.
I think that's again one of those matchups. It'd be the only time you'll get to see it.
It is,
and I think Minnesota needs something to cheer for. You're welcome.
Yeah. So I'd like to see Pasternak, and if he was not injured, and we'll maybe get this in a future All-Star game, Connor Bedard and Nathan MacKinnon. It's like the young buck, and this is how you do it, kid, because you haven't been able to play with anybody like me on your team yet. And I know it's just the All-Star game, but let me show you some things.
If
little guy.
If injuries didn't play a part in his season, Zegras would have been a fan vote, and that would have been a perfect little recruiting tool to. That could have been too. Oh my goodness!
I love how we're using this as business. It's not just an All-Star game; it's business.
Honestly, let's pull the curtain back. That's what it is.
It can be. You hear that a lot. You hear a lot of guys using it as like recruiting and just talking to would-be free agents, like in the off season. Definitely. And the city knows it too. And they put on a show to maybe, hey, remember when you were here for the All-Star game? Like, that could be year round for you. Yeah. And real quick, a goalie. You have a specific goalie that you would want him to take?
Igor Shesterkin.
My man. I like it. I'm with you on that one. I would be, though.
And then go back home to Georgiev.
Who is there too? Oh man, my camera's getting crazy. All right.
Too much Rangers love and your camera just blew up. That's why I purposely didn't choose a devil.
Which, by the way, do you like those outdoor jerseys, the Devils ones?
I think the Devils were actually pretty cool.
They are. I think the Rangers one is the best, and then I think the Devils one is next.
Yep.
And then the Islanders one is just like, I guess we'll just use Edmonton Oilers or style. And then the Flyers were just like, we're just going to go out with a regular jersey. Yeah. Just completely ridiculous. So, all right, let's take one more break and then we'll throw out a couple midseason grades for the top line so far this year. Two of them you probably can guess. I think everybody's interested in the third one. So we'll do that coming up next. All right, let's hear from FanDuel. So happy Super Bowl, everybody. Happy Super Bowl to all that celebrate. And you can do that on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We have our matchup. And if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. So are you happy with this Super Bowl, sir?
I would have been much happier if it was the Lions.
Really? See, I would have been much happier if it was not Kansas City. I don't think I'm in that. Yeah, I mean, I have to with being a Bronco fan. You were not rooting for Kansas City.
Yeah, I like Dan Campbell, so I was cheering for him.
Yeah. It was for me. It was going to be whoever comes out of the NFC. Yeah. But I didn't watch a lot of Ravens, but this year. But like, what team showed up in that game? It was horrible.
It's the Broncos.
It really was. So FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. And now you can bet on who will win the Super Bowl on Super Bowl 58. But FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored. I'm maybe guessing there's going to be some Taylor Swift bets thrown up in there. How many times she'll be on screen? Yeah. So new customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. Last thing to get to, and that is our midseason grades. Like I said, we'll do a handful of these throughout the week. And we'll do the top line. So we got Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Jonathan Drouin. We'll start with the easy ones, sir. Nathan MacKinnon, it's a A with however many pluses you want to put next to it. And I don't think that's really debatable.
Yeah, that's absolutely an A+, and that feels like it's still less than what he deserves. So, like in video games, and you could go A+, and then you can go S. S is like top tier in video games, so you can go S tier.
Okay. To me, it's just like you give him A and like 5 pluses. Can he keep those 5 pluses? You know what? Make this a restaurant thing. Like Michelin stars. Restaurants get like 3 Michelin stars if they're like top of the line, and those can always get taken away. Nathan MacKinnon right now is a 3 Michelin star restaurant. And at the end of the year, will he still be that, or does 1 get taken away, or does 2 stars get taken away? The way that he's playing, I don't see anything getting taken away from him. But he whatever grade you want to use, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100, A, B, C, D, he is at the max of whatever it is.
Yeah, it's even hard to figure out a way where he can lose that with the pace that he's at right now.
I know, exactly. Mikko Rantanen, that's an easy A for me as well. He just continues to be. I don't want to say he's the Robin to McKinnon's Batman, because I think that's a knock on him, because it's not what he is. It's a Batman and Batman combo that we have here, and he's just as good as MacKinnon, not the numbers, but production, what he means to the team. He continues to just be the constant for the Colorado Avalanche. He's awesome. He's awesome.
I hate that you baited me into this analysis, but you said Batman and Robin. Mikko and Nate are Iron Man and Captain America. They're not sidekicks. They are individual superheroes. And whenever Nathan MacKinnon is like cooling off from scoring a goal, or when things are down and momentum shifting, Mikko always shows up with that goal that everybody forgets about. It's always just quick. It's bar down. It's in. It's out. And he's always right there. He's like the Hulk. He just shows up, does what he's got to do, and goes. It's never like a big storyline like Nate has all these streaks and records and all this. Mikko just gets in, gets it done, and goes home. And Mikko is fantastic. He's an A+, 1,000%.
Yeah, they just, 2 guys that have just played together as long as they have. You see it. You see it. They just know exactly where they're going to be. They know what to expect. And, with Mikko, 66 points.
Yep.
If Nathan MacKinnon wasn't doing what he's doing, like this was Mikko Rantanen last year when everyone was getting hurt and he was the only guy that you could like rely on. He was by far their most valuable player last year. But 66 points, that's tied for 6th right now. He's 1 point behind Connor McDavid. You can't argue it. Like you can't. It's crazy. It's crazy how he just continues to be. And again, we were talking about how the Avalanche seem to be like maybe a little bit sliding under the radar as a team. Mikko Rantanen, that's what he's been doing. You always hear that guy, the players that are, that maybe are not the household names. He's always at the top of that list, and it's kind of a shame that he's not more notable in the grand scheme of things, because he's phenomenal.
Because for so long you couldn't talk about Connor McDavid without Leon Draisaitl, and I feel like that same spotlight should be shown on Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. It just isn't. It's usually one or the other, never together, and I hate that for both of them.
And it's also another reason why I hate this. Every team gets at least 1 player into the All-Star game, because he's not going. And you're really going to tell me Mikko Rantanen's not an All-Star? And I'm looking at just going through like the point leaders. I'm going through is JT Miller on the All-Star team? He should be.
I think he should be.
Let me check really quickly, because there's something I'm getting to here. JT Miller.
Just the fact that the Colorado Avalanche are sitting on 2 top 10 in the league.
Yeah.
Guys with
So-
points. Like, it's incredible.
So yeah, JT Miller is. So Mikko Rantanen is the only guy. You have to get down to Braden Point. I don't think Braden Point's on the All-Star team. All these guys that are mixed in for the top point leaders, Mikko Rantanen is the only one that's not going. You have to get down. Yeah, Braden Point, who's tied for 15th, I don't believe he's going. That's how far down you have to go. Everybody else on that list is going to the All-Star game. What is wrong with that? What's wrong with it? A lot. So anyway, yeah. So that's where we are with Mikko. And then the last one we'll do is Jonathan Drouin. It's been a season so far for him. Started off not so good, a little bit slow, got, line demoted a couple times. He's been with healthy scratch 1 or 2 times. He has come back in a big way, and he's had a really good second half of the first half of the season. What grade would you give him right now? I'm interested.
I'm giving him a flat B.
I'm with you on that. I think, and maybe it's more of what he's done recently, but that's a big part. That you started off the season the way that you did, but you've improved as the season goes on. I take that into big consideration. So I'm agreeing with you. I think a B is good.
And for anybody who says that is a little high, we just had a conversation when Artturi Lehkonen came back on if he should even go back to his normal position on the top line, because Drouin has taken that spot, and it's hard to see him not be up there on that top line with Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. That tells you something. That's not just a spot you could plug anybody in, and it's not just a spot for any old player. So for Drouin to be a top line guy that helps move that top line, that speaks a lot for where he's come from the beginning of the season.
What do we got for stats for him? I just want to bring him up. So he's got, come on, load up. 28 points on the season, 10 goals, 18 assists, and a lot of that has come in the past 2 months, really. So yeah, go ahead.
If they tagged on a third assist, those numbers would be way up, because a lot of his touches are split between Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Taser, and Makar. So it's hard to get that third assist, but he's always there. He's always a part of that.
Yeah, I think I'm agreeing with you. I think he's in the B- range for me, and sure, a lot of it has a lot to do with how he's come out of the early season funk. So you can continue that. You have a full half of the season like you did on this more recent half of the first season. You might be looking at an A for him, for me, at the end of the year. So we'll see how it plays out. What do you think? Throw out comments on those 3 guys. We'll get to some more on tomorrow's episode. But as far as the top line, what do you think? Rate them, grade them, however you want to do it. We'll get to more tomorrow. That'll wrap it up for today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. We'll be back tomorrow with anything else going on in Avalanche land. Maybe they make some sort of move. Who knows? But if they do, we'll talk about it. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.